What do you do when your creative well runs dry and inspiration feels out of reach? You sit there and stare at a blank page and wonder where your creativity went. Well, I got an author I want you to meet who found an answer, and fast. She went from idea to finished product in just a few months, and in doing so offers writers a fresh way to reignite their spark with challenges, inspiration, and a whole lot of heart. Stick around because you'll not only learn more about this book, you'll learn about the writing journey this author took to create it.
Welcome to A Book Finds You podcast. This week's guest is M.K. Sholund. Join us as she shares the inspiration behind her book, along with her writing process, routines, and challenges. And now, here's your host, best-selling author, Rob Chalice.
From working at Borders Books and Music in the 1990s to a freelance writer in the 2000s, turned horror novelist and writer of flash fiction and short stories, today's guest, M.K. Sholund, lives, reads, and dreams about books and writing. Being involved with the Maryland Writers Association and other writing groups, she loves paying it forward, leading talks and discussions on how writers can find resources, learn about the craft of writing, and connect. When not writing, MK enjoys hiking at national parks, lives in Baltimore County with her husband and two Cavalier King Charles Spaniels, and makes homemade lollipops and sells them at the farmer's market under Shelley's Lollies. The book we'll be talking about today is 150 Plus Prompts, a creative writer's journal. Happy to have you with us, and welcome to the show, MK.
Hi, thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me.
That's some mouthful. You got some bio there. All right. Well, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you here. I want to start right in on that book of yours because the title actually confused me. I wasn't sure if that was a system or a title. So 150 prompts. How did this one find you?
Yes, this is actually quite an interesting book that came about just a few months ago, right around Christmas time. I had finished a novel and I was looking for another project. And of course, staring at that blank page, you're thinking, okay, so what's next? What's next? And eventually a couple of prompts came to me. I had been gifted several creative writing journals and things like that. Went to those prompts and I was just feeling uninspired or they're way too specific. Didn't find the right thing. However, through all my writing, I wrote notes in the margins of my notebooks and I have sticky notes everywhere. So I thought, you know what, maybe I'll just turn to a few of those. And before you know it, I started to get serious with my writing routine. And through writing each day on a prompt from those notes, I started finding I had a couple of story ideas. And from that, I shared a few of those prompts with some other writers. And I said, you know what? These are really good. You should put them in a book. And I'm like, I should put them in a book. So that's how this book found me.
It sure did. Do you keep a journal? Just curious.
I keep like 2 or 3 notebooks all around the house, and my phone is always at the ready.
Yeah. And I'm asking because you sound like a person who's journaled. Sometimes we don't realize it, but even a journal can become a book. Not everything in the journal, but if we keep allowing ourselves to write, for every 10 things we write, 1 or 2 of them are a little bit stickier and we might find them. So you sound like a journaler to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I like using them as exercises, and then you never know where you can go with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever written another book this way or article this way even?
You know, some of the flash fiction stories that I've written definitely have come from this type of writing. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating because to me, it's a very freeing approach to writing. And I am very creative. I guess you have to kind of trust that inner voice of yours, though, to kind of sift through what's a prompt and,
Mhm.
what's just sort of a thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the book itself, of the different things that I had written down, I wanted to do something very cohesive that would connect, that's just not random.
Mm.
So of the different prompts that are in the book, there's 3 categories.
Yeah.
And one that I think resonates with a lot of writers is the what ifs. The what if different histories, or what if this character had a main story, those types of things. Another is just random words and phrases that you just pick up, but could be loaded, could be general. And you can go, no matter what genre you write in, find something in it that sparks some sort of creativity. And the last one is just fun phrases and snippets of phrases that you just hear. Sometimes your older relatives have these quick and weird, witty sayings, and you just write it down. And then all of a sudden you kind of ruminate and think about it. And like, oh, yeah, I remember the story behind this. And you start writing. And then that might become dialogue in a future story.
When you're working with a lot of prompts, I guess to me, my question would be, how do you weed through them? How do you know when you've got a good prompt, or maybe that one we should leave out of the book because there's 150 of them, and something tells me a bunch of them didn't make the cut.
Yes, there are quite a few that did not make the cut. And I just looked at ones that seemed to be the strongest, in the sense of, like, one prompt, or spoiler alert, is called bridges. It's just bridges. But then with the words, there are questions. So this is a way to kind of think about how to approach that word, that prompt, or even if you take the idea of a prompt, how you approach a story. So how you want to, quote unquote, start it, how you want to enter the room, so to speak. So with the book and the topic bridges, someone might look at it from a very literal point of view, like, oh, an actual physical bridge. I'm going to do a story about the Chesapeake Bay Bridge or the Golden Gate Bridge. And maybe if that person's a history buff or does historical fiction, I'm going to do the history of that. A person who might be into romance might look at it from a meetup, cute meet, I should say. Two people just happen to meet on the bridge. You think about the Paris Bridge where there's locks and stuff, and do a story about that. So there are questions, but not a lot, just to give people a taste of how to approach that topic.
Got it. And I'm going to go in a different angle with you, if you don't mind, because the idea behind our show is we want to get inside the writing process of the authors, and we're climbing in there now. But I'm going to go in. This is really intriguing me because to me, this sounds to me like you could begin to develop a website, a sort of a more interactive approach of dealing with your readers. When somebody reads a book of mine or some of the other books, a straight fictional book, let's say, obviously we could always want to meet the author and go to the website, but there isn't a whole lot of interactive play. With you, my mind is kind of popping right now in terms of contests on prompts and just where some of these will take us. So, any thoughts to how you build around the book as a brand in branding?
Sure. This book in particular is just more as a tool or exercise. However, the results of what you write could just be an exercise, just a fun way to free your mind to get ready to write whatever it is that you really are passionate about. You could use these as a jumping point as writing a short story or flash fiction, which could eventually, with refinement and a little bit of revision, enter into some contests as well as literary magazines. There's lots and lots of different ones available, and they're open all the time. And you can get paid, and you can help build your resume just by writing a few, stories and putting them together. And of course, as I just mentioned, with putting things together, you can create a collection of stories and self-promote, and not just self-promote, but self-publish. But there's other places that are asking for collections of stories, poetry even, where those could be like a jumping point for something like that.
Oh, I hear you. That's why the Jollis brain is popping right now. But I'm talking about you. Let me
Yes,
back up one step. Do we have a website?
I do. It
Okay.
is pretty straightforward. It is www.mksholund, spelled SHOLUND.com.
Okay. Now, on that website, for many of us, it's an about us and how to order the books, etc. But
Correct.
I'm telling you, I'm giving you pearls here, as Al Pacino would say. I want
Yes.
you to think about this because I don't if people are reading your book, Why
Yeah.
not make that a contest that you run on your website
Yes.
that
Oh,
people can submit
absolutely.
to? And so, thoughts about that? Am I coming up with that idea, or you already have it?
You are coming up with that idea, and I'm going to write that down. Thank you. But yeah, there's so many different options. And when it comes to what you see on my website, it is about me. It's a very basic informational website, who I am, what I write. So projects that are coming up, events that I talk about, even including events that I do with Maryland Writers Association, and then the normal info, how to find me and stuff like that, contact info. Yeah, I could definitely do something, especially if you want to, or I should say, share that on some sort of social media, whether it's Facebook or Blue Sky or something. And how there's, Taco Tuesday or something, there could be a theme Thursday
Yeah.
and potentially throw in a prompt or two. I do have a Substack, and I know I've watched your show or actually listened to your podcast several times, and you often talk about things like, how you can, I'm losing my train of thought. How you can have a blog. But
Yeah.
with Substack, I have one that's horror related, horror on the page. And once a week, I throw in a horror themed prompt and I write on it, but I invite everyone else to share what is your take on this prompt. So, yeah, I think I could do even more with it, but I like your thoughts here.
Yeah, well, and I'm hearing like writing prompt Wednesday, you know what I mean? And
Yes.
so I'm trying to get something to line up for you. But, the challenge for all the authors, you, me, everybody, is we want to interact with our readers. We want to give them
Mhm.
a reason to come to the website. The more we interact, and the more people we get on that mailing list, the more we can, share what we're doing. But there's this, people need sort of what we call in the sales business a whiffum. Well, what's in it for me to do that? That's what a
Yes.
whiffum stands for. And
Yes.
you have a natural book there that
Yeah.
would, to me, attract readers on a regular basis to see. I wonder what, last Wednesday's prompt winner was. I
Hmm.
wonder. So, and of course, now you're gathering email addresses. And so when you write your blogs, you might be able to do this on Substack, by the way. I'm just not an
Yeah.
expert on Substack. But we'll dive back into that book. I just really think that of just about every author I've talked to, your book is so natural to interact with your readers that I think your web guy needs a call. And you need a landing page, is what we're talking about,
Hmm.
and just build something that allows people to maybe even submit what they've written off
Yes.
prompts.
I
And
agree. And
away
I
we
do
go.
have a lead magnet that offers 10 of the prompts from the book. So if
Hmm.
people want to try before they buy type of idea, they can do so. And then, of course, encourage them to, if you want to email me your results or something like that, you could do so.
Yep. Good.
Yeah.
Let me just define lead magnet to everybody. Would you like to do it, or you want me to do it?
This is your show. I
All right.
like for you to
A
do
lead,
it.
because we may have different versions of it. A lead magnet is whenever you go to a website and you see, follow me, become part of jump on my mailing list, and I'll give you 10 prompts, or, an ebook or something.
Yeah.
And again, what we want to do when we market our books is continue to drive traffic to that website, to us. That's how we sell books. I think everybody has figured it out. If anybody's gone conventional, that even the biggest conventional publishers out there don't do that much to really promote your book. We got to do it. So lead
Absolutely.
magnets get people in and signing up, and prompt contests, things like that. That's what we want to do. We want to engage that audience and let them think, I haven't been there in a couple weeks. I want to see what she's up to next.
Right.
So,
And it's even
yeah,
fun to read other people's stories too. So
yeah,
it's a platform for other people to share. I think a lot of people want that validation that, hey, I do have some writing chops. Hey, I have this great idea. I agree with you 100%.
good. All right, we're going to work on that, and maybe we'll talk when we get off the show here a little bit more about that. Let's get back into your writing. Everybody has a different way, a different style. This book is, very unique. But when you write, do you have a system? Do you have a time you like to write, a place you like to write? What's
I
your style?
do.
Hmm.
I do. Yeah, good question. I love writing in a little bit in the morning. I like to prepare in the morning and then have some core time in the afternoon to just focus on writing. So, generally, waking up, having that cup of coffee, and as I'm doing that, I'm checking my emails and then writing down my to-do lists, and then usually have a good hour or so to do some of the social media posts that I typically do, whether it's sharing something that I learned or something from the day before. Mornings are that time for that. And then I get into what my to-do list is for writing that day. So I do stay home. I am a full-time writer. I write from home all the time, but I try to do mix things up because you never know when inspiration will strike. You could easily work from a cafe or your back patio or whatnot. But typically, I feel most comfortable at my desk at home, right in front of my computer, and just go to it. At least in the morning routine, I should say. Forgive me for going back a little bit. I like setting a timer for 10 minutes and write on one prompt. And it could be, it might be something from the book. It might be something that inspired from a TV show that night before.
Right.
And just for 10 minutes and just write and then stop. And that's it. I can't touch it again. And unless I want to during my normal writing time. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I approach things.
Yeah, you're like a boxer. You train, you hit the speed bag. You really are sort of a writer in training. That's fascinating. A lot of people don't have that discipline, so when they're writing, they're just kind of letting it loose. But
Hmm.
I like that. That's why I like to hear writers that are journaling or writers that are blogging, because particularly a blog, yes, it's a lovely thing to show people or put up on the website. But what I think people don't realize is, oh, I'm just training. I'm just keeping the mind moving. I'm finding words. Funny thing happens when you stop writing for a little while. You can get stuck in your head. So these
Hmm.
are some great approaches to dealing with that. Have you ever abandoned a project?
Yes, definitely. I'm trying to think. So I start and stop projects a lot.
Uh-huh.
I finished a novel and I'm working on trying to get that traditionally published, been in the querying trenches for a year. But, when you're done with that, you're waiting for the next thing to happen, hence the book here. But I've had a working second novel that would be a prequel to this one, but that involves a good amount of research. And I'm doing that research and then doing a little bit of outlining. And then those little holes, I have to kind of fill in the blank. And then with that, when you have those holes, you kind of put things down because sometimes you just can't research all the time. You have other ideas. So, yes, there's always something that is a push pull and looking for, it's always for me hard to complete something. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. You might always have a lot of ideas, but the follow through can be very hard. However, I do have plans in place to finish these things. And now that this book is out, I can do a lot of that because, like with people with marketing and things like that, there's always things that are getting in the way, distractions. And sometimes it's marketing a book, sometimes it's starting a new project, sometimes it's researching another project. So, yeah, I'm definitely one of those people.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish that people could actually see us on this podcast, because what you'd see while MK is chatting about and explaining this is Rob Giles chewing on his fingernails.
Yes.
Because I don't know, maybe in another world, when we weren't diagnosed as children, I may have ADD. I don't know. I'm glad I don't. I don't care. I
Yeah.
just know I had to learn to really stay put on something because I want to wander and do four things at once. So I'm a person that is methodical,
Hmm.
and forced myself out of fear to
Yeah.
stay and finish and not open up that box. Now, this is a person who's challenged by it, but
Hmm.
it's interesting that you have that ability. I will tell you, just as the voice of book writing,
Yes.
be careful, because
Yes.
that's when I refer to it as grinding, but yeah, and you're a writer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When we just have to kind of grind a little bit, like playing a golf game. I don't really have my A game, but you know what? I played a decent round of golf. It just wasn't an easy round, and
Yeah.
that keeps us put.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
100%. I
yeah,
mean, I say that a lot here, but there's times where you get so in the weeds with your head and everything that sometimes you just have to walk away.
yeah,
And maybe it's a month, maybe it's a week, maybe it's even a day, and you come
yeah.
back with fresh eyes. I mean, you kind of see that when it comes to the editing and revision part. You need to walk away a little bit and then visit those revisions. and it becomes clearer. And that's when that new rejoice of writing comes back. So
Right.
those projects that get put off to the side can get rejuvenated again. And eventually you do finish it.
Yeah. See, I have I'm lucky in a way. I'm not a fictional writer. I'm a business writer. So I can walk away from a chapter and
Mm.
go to another chapter because it's not linear. I'm not telling the story. Whereas I think a fictional writer can't necessarily write three chapters ahead while they're waiting for chapter three to settle in their brain because everything's building off itself. So that's why I have the luxury of being able to just simply leave the chapter. But I get nervous leaving a book. Uh,
Hmm.
I mean, MK, how many times have you had somebody stop you on the street or talk to you and say, I've always wanted to write a book. I started writing a book, and they get stuck and it just stays there. I mean, it can be years long.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a common thing and a common theme. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the reasons why, you got to be a pro like MK. Rest of you, no walking away. Okay. You got to stay. I like the walking away, by the way, but I'll walk away and play a game of backgammon on the computer and clear my
Right.
head, something.
Yes. Do that
And
Wordle.
Right, exactly. I got it in two today, by the way. But well, who's bragging? Anyway, so let's jump back in. When you're going through a longer write, this one came fast, but you've
Mhm.
got other books. So when a book is just it's sort of grinding along, as I'm using that word, how do you stay motivated when it's just a much longer process and you're kind of in the middle there?
I look at it from the standpoint of baby steps.
Mm,
You have to not always think about the big picture because that can easily get you down or overwhelmed. I look at it from the standpoint of chapter by chapter, and I do believe in outlining. I'm both a plotter and a pantser.
mm,
I know I'm kind of one of those crazy people. I like having a structure in place.
mm.
However, not so structured that I can't just play with the characters and allow them to tell me where they want to go. So, again, baby steps for me because if I am just focused on the one chapter and I know what needs to be done, the rest will come. I have that faith that the rest will come. And even if it doesn't come and I'm in the messy middle, eventually it'll all work out in the end. So you can't get too far into the weeds. You can't get too far into your headspace of worrying about this and oh, now I got to figure out a title. It's like, no, 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 you got to finish the book. So
Yeah.
butts and seats. There's a sticky note, love sticky notes on my computer. Finish the book, finish the book, finish the book.
There you go. There you go. I'm no longer chewing my nails, everyone. I've calmed down now. I'm sipping tea again. Phew, I needed to
We're on
hear
calm seas here. Yes.
that. uh, and to your point, I'll add that I think some of the best parts of books are the parts that you didn't know were coming. In other words, I'm the same as you. I'm not a pantser. An outliner guy, but
Hmm.
it's not a straight jacket. I mean, obviously there's a lot that kind of comes and goes off that outline, but I've always felt that the best writing that I do are the parts I didn't really have as set in my head or I found as I was writing. And I went,
Hmm.
well, and off we went. And those are the great parts. Again, speaks to your message about blogging and journaling. And because that is a lot of free form writing typically. I've got an idea on a blog, but I've never said this before. I
Yeah.
have a title that's about where I am right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I relish those opportunities.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's what it boils down to. There's a lot of people out there that I talk to all the time, whether it's at a meeting, at a conference, et cetera, et cetera. Just a person in the grocery store line,
Mm,
just love the idea of writing. And I read a lot of books and I have this idea and, I just got to find the time to write. And I just got to just like, but you can do it. Just find that time. If I can do it, you can do it. That's kind of how I feel and be passionate about stuff because eventually you're going to find that story that it just won't stop nagging at you that you got to write it. And a lot of times it could be a timing thing. You don't have all the information yet, but whether it's memoir or whatever, I mean,
yeah.
I don't poo poo anyone when it comes to what they choose to write. I think everyone has an amazing story. I'm losing track of what we were just talking about, but it's just very, it's just really just getting started is really the hard part. And then once you can actually get started, you'll see it unfurl.
Yeah, no, I think you said that beautifully. I think that a lot of people they get into the weeds of researching and thinking about it and planning it and talking about it
Or I'm
and
not good enough. There's that
right.
doubt stuff that comes in your,
Yeah,
oh, I can't write like this person. Like, but no one's telling you have to write like that person. Write like you.
right.
So,
Oh, let's put that up on a billboard somewhere because right like you, nobody does an imitation of you better than you. So
right.
why aren't we trusting that a little bit more? I wish we did. We did when we were little, and
True.
somebody told us otherwise, and they gave us bad information because really, just as the fact that I have a unique voice. I know
Hmm.
it's a little nasal. It's a little New Yorkish, although I never lived there. No idea how that happened. Uh, it's mine. And
Yeah.
and so is my writing style, and so is your voice, and so is your writing style. And so, yeah, you did a service to everybody who's listening, going, I don't like the sound of my voice. Well, I do. I think everybody's voice is fine, and
Yeah.
nobody does it better than you do.
Yeah.
So we got to keep encouraging people. Do you,
We do.
an odd question for you. Do you teach any programs or anything? You sound like a teacher, almost like a
Uh,
writing teacher to me. You're making some
yeah.
really good points here.
I do love doing workshops and things of that nature. So I've done workshops on how to write flash fiction. And not only that, what is flash fiction anyway? And what can you do with it? I do lead a chapter with Maryland Writers Association, which shout out to the Maryland Writers
Right.
Association for this resources that they offer. And through those meetings, we have topics. So it could be a roundtable discussion about something that is on people's minds that come. So it could be about AI, it could be about anything. We also have guest speakers that are excellent about various topics. And then we also have fun stuff like write ins and open mics and things of that nature. But I really love the talks, the roundtable talks, because yes, I will help lead the discussion and keep it, rounded up a little bit so we don't go off topic, that is. But yeah, you never know what's going to happen at a meeting and the gems that you'll get from it. And I think that is, and I've gone to several other chapters and gotten some amazing gems and realized, wow, there are some amazing, amazing authors here in Maryland and I'm in that room with them. And it's just so cool to hear their stories, not just how they came about their book, like with this podcast, but the stories that they've written and is out there and their way of getting that published. It's just really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I can add to that, not just the authors, there are people in the Safeway line and CVS line, believe it or
Yes.
not. If you choose to engage and you talk about your book, you'd be surprised at what a person off the street randomly may have to offer. And it may be
Yes.
something that's like, I would never do that. But in the spirit of brainstorming, any thought that isn't your own has the ability to connect to a different thought. And so I don't really care if the thought is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm just looking to get out of my head.
Hmm.
And that's why, and I've talked about it on a couple of the shows, but I really love the button that says, ask me about my book.
Hmm.
And while we're writing the book, afterwards, good too. And
Yes.
you can sell a book or two, but don't be afraid to engage people. And don't worry if they're not, full-fledged authors. They have a very kind of personal on the street opinion that you might find.
Hmm. Very true. And I was even I do go to a historical society type group once a month. And we did a talk about the post office in the
Mm,
area and how that came about in the early days. And a woman that was giving that presentation was a post office delivery from the 70s up until the 90s and talked about her love of being a delivery person for the post office. So much so that she created a newsletter and gave it to every single person on her route and had little gems of maybe a little bit of poetry. But if you need new flags for your post office box, this is where you can get them. And I'm like, dude, this is your story. You need to
right,
write your story.
right.
So you never know who you're going to come up to. And, whether it's your sister or a stranger, it could be really amazing in that. And yes, so I'm on the same page with you.
Yeah, anybody.
Unintended.
Yeah. And the weird part is a lot of times when we're writing, we almost do the opposite. We sort of like sequester ourselves and I don't we don't talk about it a whole lot, partially because we don't want the pressure that comes with it. Well, if I tell everybody I'm writing a book, I got to finish a book. And my theory is that's exactly why you tell everybody you're writing a book, because I'm in the business of getting these books out there. I want people to experience the dream that you've had, and
Mhm.
that many of the authors have had, including me. I always tell people, think about how good you think it will be when you finish this manuscript and publish a book. It'll be better. And it is.
Yes.
And so, congratulations. Nice to have you in the club. For you, because you actually, I know you don't believe this. I see you over there, but you're really very inspirational in the way you speak about your book.
Thank
And so I'm
you.
going to finish with one question for you that will allow others to experience that. Give me some advice that you would give an aspiring writer who might be listening right now, who's thinking about writing a book, but gosh, it's a big project. What would you tell them?
Two things come to mind, if I may share
Yep.
two. Find your community of writers. And it's not necessarily, oh, I'm published 10 million books or anything like that. Go to your local library and look at what they're doing. It could be a book club, it could be whatever. A lot of the meetings, when I say meetings, it could be inside or outside of Maryland Writers Association. They meet at libraries. And it might be just one or two people that get together and it's like, I write this and I write that. Do you want to read my thing? Well, do you want to read my thing? And then all of a sudden you start finding your people and sharing ideas. And then from that, it's like, oh, I heard this going to be a conference nearby. We should go together. And then you meet more people. And I think the important takeaway from this idea here is to connect with others, because the writing process is very lonely and you're by yourself and you want to bounce ideas off of people, but you're talking to yourself and it sounds weird. So you kind of need a buddy system, accountability partners, things of that nature to help you out. And that's kind of where you can start to find like-minded people. My second point would be, I'm trying to think how to word this. I would say,
The writer is working right now. You should
I
see
know the
her
wheels are
brain is
turning, the
moving very
hamsters
quickly.
were running. I would have to say it goes back to my idea of butts and seats, because a lot of times people get in the weeds of thinking about why I need to think about marketing, or I need to think about how am I going to publish this when they haven't finished their book yet. And you don't have anything to publish, or you don't have much until you actually have it finished. So work through it and also trust editors and things of that nature, because just because you wrote a book and now I have it finished, I'm going to put it out on Amazon. There's other steps in the way, not in the way, but help make it even better, that is needed in order to make that wonderful story polished and shine and then unput downable. Like you don't want to stop reading it. And then of course they're like, I want to read your next book. So that's, don't rush the process. I think if I had to summarize what I just said, trust it, get the book done, do the right thing, and making it the best possible book you can put out there. And that's my advice.
Beautiful. Two very good pieces of advice. And just remember, it's a style thing. So if any, I always love to hear advice. And if somebody says, well, that I'm not, I get nervous about that. Good. That's this what works for some doesn't work for everybody. Um,
And we make
I'm,
mistakes, and
yeah,
that's okay.
yeah,
We fail, and I love failing. It sounds so silly to say,
yeah.
but I've learned so much from all my failures that
Mm,
it's made me so much better each time I tackle it again. Because a lot of times you'll like, oh, I'll never write again or whatever. And then you're like, but there's that one thing that's nagging at me. I really want to finish. And
right.
so therefore you get back on the horse and you keep going.
Yeah. Well,
It's,
the
yeah.
failures are a little more, are kind of in your face. I've always said that I've learned much more from bad managers than good managers. Because
Yes.
when you're not failing, sometimes things are seamless. You're not learning as much. Things are going kind of your way right now. When you have a bad manager, for example, you'll know what it feels like to not be heard, or when somebody's cruel, and you learn from it. So I agree. I think the failures present themselves a little bit. They're more obvious. I wish people would take a moment sometimes and analyze their successes for a moment so they can learn
Mhm.
from that too, because there's lessons in both.
And celebrate
Yeah.
those happy times of doing things, whether it's just written 500 words or, I just told someone about my book and they just bought it or whatever it happens to be. There's celebrating and then there's bragging. Celebrating wins all the time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I know you gave us a website. Give it to us one more time.
Sure. www.mksholund, spelled SHOLUND.com.
Yeah. And go by there in a couple weeks and let's keep poking that website, if for no other reason, to see if MK starts looking at the possibility of trying to vet out some people's prompts and see what some of these stories are like. I think that's going to be interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, you bet. Well, pleasure meeting you. Love talking to you about this. Congratulations on your book. And I hope that you continue to take this even further than most authors, because I think there's a lot of interaction with what you're doing. And I hope you take advantage of that.
I really appreciate it. I love being here. It's an easy time to have a great conversation with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It makes me feel very good. Thank you. Well, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's guest author, we'd love you to rate, review, and share this episode with others. If you'd like more information on today's guest or the Maryland Writers Association, please visit our website at marylandwriters.org. You can also hear a brief history of the Maryland Writers Association by listening to episode 0.